Alright fellas, the last few months have been massive for Japanese boxing, and after this tweet from Naoya Inoue, it really made me question, are we starting to see the start of a next golden age for Japanese boxing? With notable champions such as Naoya Inoue and Junto Nakatani taking much of the spotlight, I think you would be amazed at how many Japanese champions there actually are. Japanese boxing as a whole is seeing a huge boom, and there's much to talk about, so let's get right into it. Just before we talk about the current day, I just want to look back at a bit of the history of the scene in Japan. The post-World War II period saw a significant surge in popularity of boxing in Japan. The establishment of the Japan Boxing Commission in 1952 provided that formal structure and establishment for governance in the sport, leading to a more organised and competitive environment. The 1960s and 70s were often regarded as the first golden age of Japanese boxing, with fighters such as Fighting Harada gaining international acclaim. Harada became a national hero by winning world title fights in multiple weight classes, and is remembered for his legendary bouts, including his victories over the formidable Eda Joffrey. The 80s and 90s were marked by consolidation and steady growth for Japanese boxing. Prominent figures such as Jiro Watanabe and Yoko Gushiken emerged during this period, securing world titles and enhancing Japan's reputation in the boxing world. This era also saw the establishment of several key boxing gyms and promotions that would later become instrumental in nurturing new talent. The early 2000s heralded the rise of a new generation of boxers who would go on to achieve success on the global stage. Fighters such as Hasegawa, Nishioka, and Uchiyama captured world titles and drew international attention. This period also witnessed the increasing influence of Japanese promoters and trainers who played a crucial role in developing the sport even further. The present era is often compared to these historical periods of success. The 60s and 70s, characterized by fighters such as Harada, were marked by groundbreaking achievements and international recognition unseen before. Similarly, the early 2000s saw Japanese boxers becoming a regular fixture in world title fights, setting the stage for the current generation. The current era is marked by the influence from the past as well as modern advancements, making it a pretty unique period. With an impressive roster of current champions and rising stars, Japanese boxing is really experiencing a resurgence, and it could be argued that this is their second golden age next to the 60s and the 70s. So let's talk about that impressive roster, which has brought upon the golden age debate. Currently, as of recording, Japan has 9 current men's world champions as well as 2 female champions. This roster of boxers is of course crowned by the historic, future all-time great Naoya Inoue. Most known for his brutal knockout power and being the 2-time undisputed champ, he is already heralded as one of the best Japanese boxers in history and has brought real big-time boxing back to Japan. Inoue has also been a major part of the puzzle, which has now made Japan a destination for the bigger fights at the lighter weight classes to occur. Japan has absolutely dominated these lower weight classes over the last few years, with Inoue surprisingly being the heaviest out of all of them. Aside from Inoue, the 2 other current champions you've probably heard of include Takuma Inoue and Junto Nakatani. You probably know Takuma because of his brother, yet he has carved out an impressive career of his own in boxing. After debuting, he quickly established himself as a formidable force within the bantamweight division. Despite suffering a setback in 2019 when he lost to Nordine Ubali for the WBC bantamweight title, Takuma's resilience saw him bounce back in a string of victories. Then in April of 2023, he captured the WBA bantamweight title by defeating Laborio Solis, solidifying his position as one of the top fighters in his weight class. While Junto Nakatani has rapidly risen to prominence in the boxing world with his powerful performances and undeniable talent. Turning professional in 2015, Nakatani quickly gained a reputation for his knockout power and relentless aggression in the ring. His career highlights include capturing the WBO flyweight title in November 2020, defeating Magramo. After successfully defending his title multiple times, Nakatani moved up to the super flyweight division where he continued his dominance. In May of 2023, he claimed the vacant WBC bantamweight title with a spectacular victory over Andrew Maloney. His dominance over the last few years has slowly been bringing him into the spotlight further, with his fights now airing through Top Rank globally. Then you have some lesser known champs such as Nishida, who recently upset Emmanuel Rodriguez for the IBF World Bantamweight title, or Takei, who recently upset Jason Maloney on the Inoue Neri undercard to claim the WBO Bantamweight title. It's kinda crazy to think that in only 2 years after Inoue vacated his 118-pound titles, they're all back in the hands of Japanese fighters. With a lot of these fighters too, you see non-bloated records, unlike most of the fighters from the West. A lot of the Japanese fighters take the hardest fights available from the jump, and because of this are quickly fast-tracked to world championship fights. All of this speaks to the strength and talent emerging from the nation. Within that tweet that Inoue put up, he highlighted that Japan was only just entering its golden age, and I couldn't agree more. Looking towards the future, Inoue probably has some of his biggest fights ahead of him, with the potential to break records and to become the first ever to unify 3 divisions and become undisputed once again. His next move up will continue to bring the biggest fights to Japan for years to come. Alongside this, the heavily Japanese-centric bantamweight division holds the potential for some of the biggest internal Japanese fights that we've seen in many decades, with stars such as Nakatani and Takuma paving the way for bigger fandom within the country, while also bringing eyes with these huge matchups waiting to happen down the line. With the sport having a new resurgence within Japan, the next generation will be watching closely. As previously, generations have fallen in love with K1 kickboxing, a lot of the new generation will fall in love with their current boxing world champs, which will hopefully result in some impressive talent for years to come. As we're currently seeing the infrastructure being built in Japan to become one of the destinations for boxing in the world. In conclusion, we are absolutely seeing the start of a golden age for Japanese boxing. Now, I want to hear what you think about the current generation of Japanese boxing and what you think the future holds. But if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate if you would consider subscribing or liking. It massively helps the channel. Yet thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.